got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's the guy that says if the weather's clear, can do. This guy says the horse can do.
Welcome back to my channel on Vegas Stories. Okay, before I get started, I want to just kind of summarize that most of these stories that I do are primarily involved in the horse race and sports betting business here in the city of Las Vegas. I was part of 2 licensed Nevada disseminators, okay, that provided horse race information from the racetracks to the race books in the state of Nevada. I also work for a sports gaming tabloid, so I have background in sports betting as well. Okay, and that's the essence of the stories. I deviate somewhat because I've been here such a long time, it doesn't encompass everything that I'm involved with. So the point is that I deviate a little bit, and that's the essence of this particular story that I'm telling you. So with that in mind, let's sweep this off to the side. Let's get into I'm going to get into my drink of the day. Usually I cover the international beers because of the higher alcohol content. But I went to the doctor today. You know, I go to the endocrinologist. He's going to do blood tests, all this kind of shit. You know, and I got a decent report. I come home. So you know what? I didn't go to the beer. I mean, I don't need the bloat. We don't deal with the the low alcohol content. We deal with high alcohol content. But I'm not even going to get to that point. I'm going to go straight to the good stuff. So what I did is I'm going to show you what I got because this is a really good scotch, okay? Now understand, this ain't cheap. Okay, this is not a cheap bottle, okay? This is going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's a celebration. You got to celebrate. Sometimes you got to buy something and celebrate. You know where I'm coming from? Okay, so let me show you this puppy, okay? Because this is a good one. Now, this particular thing, this is a Glenlivet 18-year-old scotch. Very, very good scotch. Single malt. You're going to love this thing. I'm going to tell you, put it on the rocks right here. You see? In fact, let me add a little bit to this because I've been drinking this sucker. And, you know, the bottom line is it's a really good scotch. So I got a little bit in here. This is a Glenlivet 18 on the rocks, okay? Sip it. Enjoy it. Eat a little food somewhere down the road. But in the meantime, you're going to get all buzz. Forget about bloat. You're just getting buzz with this particular puppy, okay? So enjoy this particular scotch, Glenlivet 18, nice scotch. But be prepared to lay out a few bucks for this for this bottle, because it ain't cheap. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay? So cheers. Happy New Year. Oh, that's an incredible scotch. Let's push that thing to the side. Let's get to my story of the day. As I said, I'm going to deviate a little bit from the race and sports business. We're going to get into what I did particularly today, and it's going to also take me back to what I did 50 years ago. So the point is, I had to go to the doctor today, okay? You know, your typical, semi-annual blood test, what do you got, all this kind of shit, So the point is that before I get started in this particular doctor, let me take you back 50 years ago when I first came to this city, because I'm going to tell you something. Back in the day, way back in the day, okay, back in the 70s, okay, Las Vegas wasn't known to have its like guru doctors, the guys that can kind of pick out what your problems are and maybe kind of direct you in the real, in the right path, so to say, that kind of stuff. I mean, you go to a doctor, I guess it was like being in another movie of Jumanji. You don't know what the hell you're going to go. You don't know what's going to grow. You have no idea because everything's sprouting out. And you go to these guys and they kind of like, they tell you what's wrong with yourself and all that kind of crap. So 50 years ago, I came to the college here, UNLV, because I was in graduate school at the time. I had a little problem. Every day I would wake up, and for some frickin' reason, I ended up having blurred vision. I put the glasses on. With the glasses, I can't frickin' see. Nothing's working. It's not dilating right. I got blurred vision, so I didn't know what to do, I had an optometrist back home. He used to give me the glasses, make sure everything was like perfect and all that. She'd take my vision, all that, 10,000, whatever the fuck it was. It was ridiculous at the time. The number went so high, I thought it was like legally blind, but whatever. The point is, I had big, giant, thick glasses at the time. The thing is I don't know what the fuck is going on. I can't see shit. And all of a sudden, I figured, let me go to a doctor. So what happened is I didn't go to an optometrist over here. I went to an ophthalmologist. Now, if you know what an ophthalmologist is, that's a surgeon type. That's a doctor. That's a bona fide frickin' eye doctor. Okay? Optometrist just kind of like makes you look at the chart and says, hey, you know what? You need glasses. Not a lot there, okay? But I go to this optometrist, back in Rhode Island, and that was a nice thing because he gave me the right glasses. And I come to Las Vegas, I can't see in the morning. So the next thing I know, I go to an ophthalmologist, okay, because this is the specialist. I figured maybe I need this kind of stuff. So I go to the ophthalmologist and I walk in and we're sitting down. And next thing you know, he's looking at my eyes. He goes, "Whoa, you got a problem." I go, "What is that?" He goes, "You got a problem." He says, "I think you got," and he named the disease. Started with a K or something. Like a long name. Who the fuck knows what it was? It was a long name. I didn't listen to it because I don't give a shit what the hell it was. But in the meantime, he told me he's got a problem with your corneas. I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Well, you know what? The disease you have right now," he said, "The disease you have right now, I think if we transplant your corneas, I think everything's going to come out just hunky-dory and you're going to be like perfect after that." So I looked at this guy, tilted my head. I said, "What the fuck is this guy talking about? I'm 22 years old. Guy wants to take my eyes out, put new eyes in. What's he talking about? What's this shit all about, So next thing I know, I go, we didn't have flip phones or we didn't have any goddamn cell phones. So I went to a pay phone. I dial. What I call my optometrist in Rhode Island. I called him up. I said, "Whoa." I said, "Hey, doc, let me tell you something." I said, "This guy says I got to have my eyes replaced. So I got a disease." He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I get up in the morning. I can't see shit." He goes, "It takes a couple hours. Things clear up. I don't know. It's all fucking mess. It's really bad. I'm having trouble driving. I'm having trouble reading. I'm having trouble doing everything. I can't even find the slot machines in the casinos. This is rough." So he looked at me and he says, "Hey, Bob," he says, "diabetes in your family." I said, "Oh, I don't know. He says, "You know what you need to do?" He said, "What you need to do is go have a blood test." He said, "If you have a blood test, maybe it'll just tell you something a little bit about what you're going through at the time." So, I didn't know what the hell to do, So what did I do? I go get a blood test. I got to go have a blood test because they're going to check my eyes and all this kind of shit, and they're going to try to evaluate everything. So I walk into the doctor's office, and I told him what the problem was, and this other doctor, he looks at me, he says, "We're going to then we'll give you a glucose tolerance test." I said, "What the hell is that?" He said, "Well, we're going to measure your blood count over a 5-hour period. By the way," he says, "what you need to do is you got to come to this place for 5 hours. You got to be ready." I said, "Wow, this is like a fucking marathon. I got to be here for 5 hours?" He said, "Yeah, we're going to take we're going to make you drink some shit, and then we're going to take your blood every hour, okay? And we're going to measure the count type of thing, and we're going to see what's going on." I said, "Wow, that's freaking rich. I didn't know that." So next thing I know, I show up at the particular day that he assigned me to, and, I'm going to go through a 5-hour glucose tolerance test, which I thought was kind of neat. It's going to tell me what the hell the problems were. I got a little, this is a lot better than replacing the fucking eyes, because I'm going to tell you something, that blew my head, okay? So all of a sudden I go in, and what I said, remember I had that video about the trainees, okay? Yeah, I got a student nurse. Okay, a student nurse comes in. Now understand, it's very important to realize this is the 70s. So you got to take everything that you know today, you got to throw it out the fucking window. It ain't the same. Okay, so all of a sudden this student nurse, okay, starts to sit me down, and every hour she's going to measure my blood count, so to speak, and she's going to inject me with the fucking needle, which I hate the shit of, and she's going to pull the blood out, and she's going to basically measure the blood count hour per hour for 5 hours. That's supposed to determine whether I have what? High, low, whatever the fuck kind of blood sugar I got, all that kind of crap. So, I figured I'll do this, I really like this shit, but I'm going to go through it. Yeah. So first thing she does, okay, now the first hour, we're not even in hour 2, we're in the first hour. She injects me with a needle and she starts taking the blood out, okay? But I don't know what happened, but she pulled it out a little, like, maybe too fast or something like that. She didn't fill the tube up the whole way. I don't know what the hell, but all I knew is she took the tube out. I can't make this up. Trust me, I cannot make this up. Okay, she turned around in her chair. She had a swivel chair. She turned around in her chair and she tossed my blood in the trash can. Wow. Now, the first thing I got to give her kudos for, she actually hit the trash can. That's fucking beautiful. Could you imagine if she missed it? We're talking broken glass, whatever the hell, got me blood on the floor. Like I said, back in the 70s, a little different than it is today, but she threw my blood. Now, I'm fucking freaking out because I don't even like needles. And then on top of it, she's throwing my blood in the trash. I mean, this is getting me pretty upset. I'm starting to have a little bit of anxiety with this situation. I told her, I said, what the hell's the problem? She said, I took it out a little too early. I said, sweetie, I got to tell you something. I don't like this shit to start off with. But you know what? If you're going to take my blood, do it right. Because I'm going to tell you, you're going to lose me halfway. I'm out the door. I'm going to be at the bar. I'm telling you right now, you better solve this problem. So she ended up taking the blood. She did pretty good. I think the stress kind of got to her a little bit, but she ended up functioning a lot better. And she's taking the blood every hour on the hour. I finally got to talk to the doctor. And he told me, he says, hey, you know what you got? You got hypoglycemia. He says, you got low blood sugar. He says, and you know, part of the byproduct of that situation, he says, sometimes your vision gets a little fucked up. I said, really? Oh, I says, well, okay, now what do I do with this thing? What does that mean, low blood sugar? I know diabetics are high blood sugar, but I don't know what the whole fuck is low blood sugar. So he said to me, he says, look, he said, let me tell you what you got to do. He says, you know, go on a high protein, low carbohydrate diet, kind of like the pre-Atkins shit, you know, which I did for like, I don't know, fucking 10 years later on in life because it made me lose some weight. But this particular doctor at the time, way back in the late 70s, pre-Dr. Atkins type of shit. He told me, a lot of meat, a lot of salad, stay away from the cookies. All right, I can handle that. Next thing you know, I trimmed down a little bit, blood sugar came in line, everything was copacetic. It was a wonderful thing. Solution. But it really did prove one thing, okay? The optometrist in Rhode Island, okay, kind of knew exactly what to do over the ophthalmologist in Las Vegas. So I'm going to just leave it with that because back in the day, it ain't like this today because we got really good doctors here. But I thought, I mean, what are we dealing with back then? That was a little bit of a tough scenario to get over. You know, when the guy wants to take your eyes and transplant and put other corneas in there because you're 22 years old, he figures, what the frig, let's do it. Let's use him as what, the guinea pig? We'll see how he looks after it. I don't know if I can switch my eye colors. I was thinking baby blue. I was thinking baby blue at the time. But the point is I didn't have to do it. Everything was perfect. I just loved it. So now we fast forward into today. Okay, because, you know, you got to understand, doctors have changed here in the city of Las Vegas. They don't want to just like take your body parts out and replace them with other shit right now. They actually kind of like look at you and they kind of make, well, I think, you know, intelligent decisions on how you stand and where you are in your particular facet of life. So this guy today looked at me, he says, hey, you look great. He says, everything's phenomenal. He says, your blood count's all good. You know, he mentioned all the stuff with the PSA, but that's a urology type of thing. We'll get into that later on. We don't have to fucking talk about that right now. But in the meantime, everything else came out pretty cool. He's looking at everything, he's checking things out. So I had a little bit of a discussion with him because, you know, I'm going to be 70 years old. And I said to him, I said, hey, Doc, let me ask you a question. I know this is kind of personal, but, you know, I'm trying to pick up my sexual life a little bit. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm a little bit of a sexual thing. And I told him, I says, now I've been reading. There's a little bit of a study going around right now that if you take Viagra on a daily basis, okay, there's a very good possibility, I says, that you're going to increase the chances of not getting Alzheimer's up to almost 70%. I said, wow, that's amazing, don't you think? And he looked at me, kind of tilted his head a little bit. He said, yeah, it's kind of like the jury's out on that. But yeah, there's no doubt, blood flow better, all this kind of shit. Doesn't surprise me that they did some study on this stuff. I said, so let me ask you something. If I go to Viagra, not only am I not going to forget anything, am I going to remember to get laid or something like that? I mean, with the erection, I mean, I don't want to fuck anything up, but I'm really trying to figure out what I need to do to improve the sex life in my life because, I mean, I'm going to tell you something. It's like when you get to a certain point in age, you know, you hit a fucking wall and you just kind of like, they don't know what to do. So I don't know. I mean, is this something I can consider? Because I can kill two birds with one stone. I mean, I'm looking at the fact that my sex life might be improved. And secondly, you know, I mean, the point is that I might remember I even got laid. I mean, I think that's a great thing. Don't you think? Hey, he looked at me and says, well, I can't help you with that, but I'm going to tell you something, okay? The Viagra is not going to help your libido. I said, what are you telling me? And he said, well, you know. I said, so in other words, I got to go back to the fucking magazine to get excited? I said, Jesus Christ, you know how long it's been since I looked at the magazine? He said, no, you don't have to do it. But the point is that it doesn't help the libido side of it, you know. So you're gonna have to do a little extra work on this situation, and you know, you're gonna have to I said, okay, I can handle it. I'm just trying to get to the point where everything's gonna be easy for me. I'm gonna walk in the room one day, and the next, I don't want to walk around with a stiff prick all the time and not know what to do with it. I mean, that's the thing I'm a little bit concerned about, because that's gonna be embarrassing as hell. And he said to me, he says, look, number one, he says, don't worry about a thing. He says, you know, you don't need the Viagra. You just basically, you're in great shape. You're doing what you need to do. He said, you know, just drink a little bit, have a little fun. Next thing you know, maybe you'll have a good time. So he was a nice doctor. I loved the guy. I mean, I embraced him. We hugged each other. You know, I didn't know if I should kiss him on the neck, but I like the guy. He's incredible. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of this situation, because we've evolved over 50 years. You know, we went from like being blind over here, like transplanting the eyes, all the way to this situation now where we're kind of like figuring out, like, when do I have an erection that's going to like prove to be the right time and not the, you know, wrong time type of thing and all that kind of shit. So, I mean, the point is that I think I'm really evolving as a person. I think I'm kind of like understanding the situation of my body changes and shit like that. So I don't know, if you like the video, you know, hit the like button. It's a little different. I mean, you know, I've been drinking scotch and I'm trying to get laid. It's a great thing, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you something. Like the video, hit the like button. Now, if you subscribe, you're in my backyard again. I mean, then I embrace you. Everything's great. I told you I'm really trying hard to pick up the subscribers. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm out there. I'm schmoozing with people. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I'm telling people that, you know, I'm making believe I'm not even Bob Moretti. I'm going, shit, I saw this fucking thing the other day. It was great. And then people asking me about it, and I throw this name out there. Well, they don't know me, so I figure let me throw it out there. Maybe they think I'm bragging about it, but I think I'm going to get busted one of these days for that. Somebody's going to say, that's you, buddy, that's you. And I don't know what to tell them after that. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm trying to promote it. But, you know, listen, I'm just trying to get subscribers all the time. So if you find the time to subscribe, you make me feel good. Hit the like button, you'll make me feel good. At the end of the day, take care. I'll come back. I'll give you another story.
I got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's the guy that says if the weather's clear, can do.